A Chinese student, surnamed Gu, who planned to study philosophy at the University of Houston, was detained by U.S. Customs when he arrived at an airport in Texas. After being questioned for 10 hours and detained for 36 hours, he was swiftly deported and banned from entering the U.S. for 5 years. This incident has sparked strong protests from the Chinese government and has become an international news topic. New reports reveal that this case not only involves political sensitivity, but also unsettling behind-the-scenes details. According to an August 31st report from the Associated Press, Gu held a valid F1 visa and a full scholarship from the University of Houston. He had previously participated in a semester-long exchange program at Cornell University without any issues. However, when he arrived at the airport in Texas, U.S. Customs held him for an extended questioning session. The report included photos showing that Customs recorded an interview with Gu on August 16th. During the search of his phone, officials found that he had joined multiple Chinese Students and Scholars Associations, including one at the University of Houston. The Customs records show that Gu was asked whether he planned to join the CSSA, to which he responded no, but admitted that he had joined the group at the invitation of the university, calling it a common social practice, and stated he would not participate if it had political purposes. Customs also inquired if he was willing to contact the Chinese consulate, and he said yes. Further questioning focused on his connections to the Chinese Communist Party. Gu mentioned that his parents were CCP members, but that he himself had never joined the party, only being a member of the Communist Youth League. Customs officers also questioned him about his ties to the China Scholarship Council, CSC. As this organization appeared in his chat logs, Gu explained that he had mentioned the council while chatting with classmates, but had never received money from the Chinese government. U.S. Representative John Molinar recently warned that the CSC is used by the CCP to directly support the military and sensitive research. This could explain why U.S. authorities suddenly tightened their scrutiny. Ultimately, he was placed on a flight back to China. The customs record showed that his entry was denied because the purpose of his visit did not match his visa. Gu said he was considering appealing the decision. The incident was widely reported by major media outlets, but U.S. Customs and Border Protection has not responded to requests for comment on the matter. Following Gu's deportation, Chinese state media reacted strongly. The Chinese embassy responded quickly, stating that it had received reports of over 10 Chinese students being questioned or deported upon arrival in the U.S., mainly for visa issues or potential threats to U.S. national security. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs accused the U.S. of politicizing educational cooperation, claiming they would protect the legal rights of Chinese students and scholars. On August 22nd, a spokesperson for the ministry stated that no Chinese citizen traveling to the U.S. should be treated unfairly. On August 29th, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs also issued a safety alert, warning Chinese students and scholars of potential risks when traveling to the U.S. However, netizens and analysts pointed out that in the past, there had been many cases of Chinese students being deported without any strong reaction from the Chinese government. The high-profile protest suggests there may have been more to the story than what was presented. On September 1st, an ex-user revealed that Gu is not just an ordinary student, but the son of Gu Xiansheng, a prominent figure in the Chinese Communist Party. Gu Xiansheng has held key roles within the CCP, including Minister of the Organization Department and member of the Central Government Work Committee, which is a core CCP institution. He currently serves as a director of the National Party Building Research Association. Gu Xiansheng is considered a central figure within the CCP. Zhou Junhong, a former criminal defense lawyer from Shenzhen, now in exile in the U.S., pointed out that in the past, applications for students from second red generation families or senior officials' children were almost always approved. However, in this case, even though Gu had all the necessary documents, the U.S. rejected his entry, which is exceptionally rare. The complexity of this incident goes beyond Gu's political background. Further revelations indicate that U.S. immigration and intelligence agencies had already received detailed reports about Gu before his arrival. Not only discussed his personal background, but also implicated his family in allegedly using multiple anonymous accounts to funnel large sums of money into the U.S. These funds were used to support the CCP's overseas propaganda activities. The leak further suggests that Gu's family may have been involved in large-scale efforts to smear the U.S. and Western countries in public opinion. The funds were allegedly used to support CCP's foreign propaganda projects, with one of the most recent campaigns linked to the CCP's retaliation against European leaders who refused to attend the September 3rd military parade. It is claimed that the CCP, through its overseas networks of propaganda accounts, the Chinese Students and Scholars Association, and various propaganda websites, used platforms like X, YouTube, and TikTok to spread false information about Europe falling and economic collapse, aiming to stir up political turmoil and cause confusion. Analysts have noted that Gu's choice of studying philosophy, a non-sensitive subject, and his full scholarship from the University of Houston may have been a carefully designed cover to hide his real purpose for coming to the U.S. However, the choice of such a seemingly low-profile field of study raised even more suspicions, as philosophy typically doesn't receive significant funding in U.S. universities, especially for foreign students. Some commentators have speculated that despite Gu Xiansheng's official position not directly linking him to the CCP's external propaganda system, the shared surname has led some to suspect a connection. It is also suggested that Gu's detention might have been influenced by political rivals of Gu Xiansheng, who provided the U.S. authorities with the report, adding a layer of internal CCP intrigue. However, there has been no confirmation from reliable sources to verify these claims. If these accusations prove true, it would mark a significant political scandal, highlighting the complex and delicate political maneuvering between China and the U.S. The U.S. Customs report and the leak on X both point to the Chinese Students and Scholars Association as a key player. The U.S. State Department has long considered the CSSA to be an organization designed to monitor Chinese students and mobilize them against viewpoints that differ from the CCP's. It is under the direct management of the CCP's United Front Work Department. CSSA chapters at various universities are supervised by CCP consulates. According to a 2018 U.S. congressional report by the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission, while CSSA provides social services to students, it often conceals its ties to the CCP and operates under the guidance of consulates in alignment with Beijing's United Front strategy. The report reveals that CCSA members often maintain contact with intelligence officers from Chinese diplomatic agencies and are suspected of being involved in harassing, intimidating, and monitoring student activists, suppressing free speech, and even engaging in industrial espionage. In 2017, the president of the George Washington University CSSA explicitly stated in a promotional video that the CSSA is guided by the Chinese embassy and collaborates with it. A 2018 report from the Philadelphia Foreign Exchange Research Policy Institute pointed out that nearly half of the CSSA budget at Georgetown University came from the Chinese government. Immigration lawyer Chen Chuang said that Gu's membership in CCSA raised suspicions with U.S. federal authorities, who have concerns about the CCP's involvement with CSSA. When asked if he was willing to contact Chinese consulate officials, Gu agreed, indicating he had no intention to sever ties with the CCP. Chen stated that the case highlights how the U.S. government conducts strict scrutiny of students with CCP affiliations. However, he emphasized that the U.S. government also offers the opportunity to disassociate from the CCP. If students choose not to cut ties, they may face trouble. This case serves as an example. The incident has sparked heated discussions within the overseas Chinese community on X. Many users have expressed their views, with one commenting, "If Gu were just an ordinary student, Beijing would never protest so loudly, let alone issue a strong protest. Getting a full scholarship to a U.S. university is not ordinary." Another user remarked, "Which average family would let their students study philosophy? Only children of powerful families who don't need money and don't worry about their future would choose such a niche subject." Some students speculate that U.S. Customs may have noticed something unusual when reviewing Gu's full scholarship from the University of Houston, prompting further investigation. One user analyzed, "Anyone can see that U.S. public universities, like the University of Houston, rarely give full scholarships to foreign students for philosophy. Houston is also a sensitive area, with frequent overseas Chinese community activities. Some people clearly underestimated the vigilance of U.S. authorities. Overplaying the scholarship made them slip up." Other users have raised broader concerns, pointing out that CPPCC chairman Wang Huning and Xi Jinping's daughter Xi Mingze both have backgrounds in the humanities. News and finance should be added to the list of sensitive professions related to China. This viewpoint reflects some overseas Chinese concerns about the CCP using humanities majors as tools for infiltration. This event has drawn considerable attention as it comes at a sensitive moment, with the U.S. planning to accept 600,000 Chinese students in the future. Currently, there are about 300,000 Chinese students in the U.S., with plans to increase by another 300,000. However, behind the seemingly open policies of the Trump administration, strict screening measures are being applied to students linked to the CCP. Gu's experience is seen as a signal. Individuals with CCP connections may face stricter entry restrictions in the future. On social media, the topic of the children of high-ranking officials being denied study abroad quickly trended, with some mocking, on one hand, they send their students to the U.S., while on the other hand, they shout anti-American rhetoric. This double-dealing is too obvious. This incident may be a microcosm of the broader U.S.-China power struggle. In the future, more children of CCP officials, scholars, and those funded by the National Scholarship Fund may face similar entry bans. A recent case similar to Gu's incident involves 35-year-old Chinese cancer researcher Li Yunhai. On July 9th, Li was stopped at the same airport in Texas. The Customs and Border Protection, CBP, and Department of Homeland Security accused him of stealing breast cancer vaccine research data funded by the U.S. National Institutes of Health and the Department of Defense. He attempted to bring the data back to China. On August 22nd, he was formally arrested on charges of stealing commercial secrets, which is a felony, and tampering with government records, a misdemeanor, which could result in a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Court documents show that Li had been a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center since 2022. He held a research scholar visa funded by the NIH and the Department of Defense. On July 1st, Li suddenly resigned and uploaded approximately 90 gigabytes of unpublished research data to China's Baidu cloud, attempting to continue his research at Chongqing Medical University. Investigations revealed that he did not disclose his collaboration with Chongqing Medical University and the Chinese National Natural Science Foundation, violating a confidentiality agreement he had signed. Li argued that he believed he had the right to keep the data, as he thought his research would be wasted. He also attempted to delete traces of the upload, but Customs found confidential data on his devices, including unpublished research, diagrams, and models. Harris County District Attorney Sean Tier told Fox 26 Houston, "That intellectual property stays with us, so we can save lives." Currently, Li is out on a $5,000 bail, required to stay in the Houston area, and the investigation is ongoing. He may face federal charges. MD Anderson Cancer Center confirmed that Li has resigned and is cooperating with the investigation. In another case, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of New York announced on July 8th that a 30-year-old Chinese national, Zhang Jiaxuemo, from Arizona, pleaded guilty to fabricating, concealing, or covering up material facts. He was sentenced by U.S. District Judge Richard J. Arcara and was transferred to ICE for deportation. Assistant U.S. Attorney Zhang, who held an F-1 issued by the U.S. Department of State, was pursuing a master's degree in aerospace engineering at the State University of New York at Buffalo. In June 2021, Zhang applied for his visa at the U.S. Embassy in Beijing, but deliberately concealed his experience in Beihang University, one of China's 7 defense institutions, which also houses key national defense laboratories, is a core supporter of China's military-civil fusion strategy. Since 2020, the U.S. government, under Presidential Proclamation 10043, has banned Chinese nationals associated with such institutions from entering the U.S. on F or J visas. This proclamation was to prevent the CCP from exploiting students to obtain sensitive U.S. technology and intellectual property. Authorities noted that had Zhang disclosed his experience at Beihang, his visa would have been denied. In December 2022, Zhang's concealment was discovered when he applied to several PhD programs. Investigations revealed that the laboratory he worked with had sensitive military ties. Zhang was arrested in the summer of 2023 and reached a plea agreement, admitting to violating U.S. law by concealing material facts. He could face up to 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. He waived his right to appeal and accepted the consequences of possible deportation and a permanent ban from re-entering the U.S. The case was jointly investigated by the FBI, the Department of State Bureau of Diplomatic Security, and Customs and Border Patrol. Such cases have become frequent in recent years. On June 8th, Cheng Xuanhan, a doctoral student from Huazhong University of Science and Technology in Wuhan, was arrested at Detroit Metropolitan Airport for smuggling nematode-related biological materials and making false statements to customs. She faces charges of smuggling goods and making false statements, with the case being jointly investigated by the FBI, CBP, and ICE. According to Justice Department documents, Han, a Chinese national, sent 4 packages including concealed biological materials from China to a Michigan University laboratory between 2024 and 2025. She arrived in the U.S. on a J-1 visa, planning to work as a visiting scholar at the university. Customs officials found that she deleted data from her electronic devices just 3 days before her arrival and falsely claimed that she had not sent the packages, stating that the contents were plastic cups rather than petri dishes. Eventually, she admitted that the packages contained materials related to nematodes and lied to customs. Previously, 2 of her visa applications had been denied due to her inability to answer research-related questions. U.S. Prosecutor Jerome Gorgon stated that this smuggling of biological materials from Wuhan poses a national security threat and compromises the integrity of research institutions. Han's case is the 3rd recent incident involving Michigan University, highlighting the U.S. government's heightened vigilance over biological security. On August 27th, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security proposed a new regulation that plans to shorten the validity of F visas for students, J visas for visiting scholars, and I visas for media personnel. The validity of F and J visas for international students and scholars will be limited to 4 years, while I visas for foreign journalists will be capped at 240 days, and Chinese journalists would be only allowed 90 days. Visa holders will need to apply for extensions, making it harder to maintain flexible legal status. On August 29th, President Trump, in an interview with Daily Caller, stated that allowing Chinese students to study in the U.S. is the right thing to do, as they're crucial to the financial health of American universities, or else the university system would quickly collapse. However, he emphasized the need for careful screening of applicants. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated in May that visas for students linked to the CCP would be revoked, and that scrutiny of new applicants would be intensified. According to data from the Associated Press, the number of Chinese students in the U.S. dropped from a peak of 373,000 in the 2019-2020 academic year to 277,000 in the following academic year, a 4% decrease. Recently, due to stricter security checks, an increasing number of Chinese students are facing obstacles during visa applications and entry to the U.S.